So let's close with Jesus running into someone else. It's a story that rarely gets preached. It's just not it's only in one gospel, which I could give you reasons for that, but we'll leave it. Matthew 17:24. When they came, they as Jesus and his disciples, when they came to Capernaum, those who received the temple tax came to Peter and said, does your teacher not pay the temple tax? 25. He said, yes. This is Peter talking. Peter says, yes, he pays the temple tax. Don't worry about Jesus. So when he came into the house, Jesus anticipated him and said, what do you think, Simon? Simon is Peter, by the way. From whom do the kings of the earth take customs or taxes? From their sons, or do they take them from strangers? So who gets taxed? Does the king tax the prince, or does he tax the pauper? Obvious answer, right? You know Jesus is setting us up. Peter said to him, from strangers. Jesus said to him, then the sons are free. Okay. Another translation says the sons are exempt. Okay. The stranger gets taxed, the sons don't get taxed. Sons are exempt. Okay. Jesus has a theology that the son is exempt from the temple tax because he's not a servant under the old covenant. And under the old covenant, they had an old covenant priesthood, Exodus chapter 30. And you brought in coins for a physical silver tax every time there was an annual census of Israel. And the coins was so that the priest could buy the stuff that doesn't come in through the sacrifice. Because what comes in through the sacrifice is flour and oil and meat. Those are on the altar. The priest gets to keep what's left after the sacrifice. But there's no salt and there's no miscellaneous that they can live their day-to-day lives in any of the sacrifices. So the temple tax allowed them to buy what the sacrifice couldn't give them. This was God's way of providing for the priesthood. Only necessary under an Old Testament paradigm. And Jesus goes, if you lived in a world where you were a son, not a slave, would you have to pay the tax? And Peter goes, well, no, you wouldn't have to pay the tax if you lived in a world where you were a son. And Jesus is saying, are you a son or are you a slave? Well, the answer is what? Well, I'm a son. And the next response should be, then why would you pay a temple tax? Nevertheless, lest we offend them. Oh, here it is. I wouldn't even have to read the rest of the verse. You know it's going to be something in which Jesus is sensitive to the place someone else is. Nevertheless, lest we offend them, go to the sea, cast in a hook, take the fish that comes up first. When you open its mouth, you're going to find a piece of money. Take that, give it to them for me and you. I'm going to drop the miraculous in for one good reason. Not because you need it. Because we don't want to offend their faith. As I wrestle through this passage, it convinces me that Jesus was willing to take his revelation and shelve it to meet your revelation and your fear and your faith. And we live in a world where more and more we want to prove our individual intelligence, liberty, and worth by showing people who are ignorant, foolish, and sheeples exactly how free we are. And I have a feeling that Jesus was mature enough to shelve his own personal revelation unless we offend someone else's sensibility. This was a highly controversial moment. Only Matthew tells you this story because it was rare. It's possible this was the first time in Jesus' life they had exacted the temple tax. And here's why. In Exodus, they exacted it when they needed to, and then it vanished until Nehemiah. And Nehemiah exacted it again so they could rebuild the temple and the walls. And then it vanished again. And for some reason, it surfaces in Matthew. It's also very possible that it only surfaced to trap someone like Jesus, who had just told them he's the temple. And so they reenact the temple tax to see how Jesus will respond to that. And Jesus' response is, I don't have to pay a tax. I'm the son. But nevertheless, in case my revelation offends them, go fishing. It'll pay for both of us. I'm impressed. I can't help it. I'm amazed. I don't know why. I'm not shocked. I'm impressed, but not shocked. It's classic Jesus. It's Jesus walking in, knowing exactly what the Father thinks about him, but knowing that you have a different opinion of what the Father thinks about you. And rather than berate you and pull you up to his level and shove you into his revelation, his end of the pool, he walks to your end of the pool because that's Jesus. When a centurion comes to Jesus and goes, my servant is at home, vexed with a devil, sick. Jesus goes, let's go to your house, I'll heal him. And the servant says, I'll just speak the word. If you speak the word, he'd be healed. And Jesus turns to the crowd and says, this is it, man. Look at this faith. I haven't seen this kind of faith in all of Israel. You have what you need. Go home, your servant's healed. It's incredible. What do we do with that? You're walking in revelation in this world, whatever that is. It's for you. Love it. Revel in it. Roll around in it. Enjoy it. If you come up against someone, with someone, near someone that doesn't have it, don't intellectualize. Don't drag them up, drag them down, push them in, push them out. Love them. Walk this walk with people. The weapons of your warfare are not carnal. Carnality is the feeling that you have a job to do to change the world. God doesn't invite you to change the world. He invites you to participate in him changing the world. That's it.